caulking, a line of caulking built up on the countertop that I've got to take off so that I can cut this edge and notch it out so it fits around the tile. So I just need to get that caulking torn off. Trying to be careful not to scratch the laminate because I'm using the laminate and it still needs to look good. Okay, so I've got my countertop flipped over here, and before I started cutting into these edges, I wanted to flip it over and see what I have as far as any nails or things like that from when they built this thing. And on that left edge countertop, left edge of the countertop, where I have to cut in about 3/8 of an inch. I don't know if you can see this hole right here, but there is a nail hole right here, and also down here at this other end. It looks like the back edge is free and clear of any nails, and so I've obviously got to be real careful how much I cut off of that. I might go a little bit less than 3/8 of an inch. I do have a good carbide tip, and these are just little tiny little brad nails, and I think they're pretty soft material. But that's something that we gotta really be careful of, because that'll take out a saw blade pretty quickly if we're not careful. I have my straight edge that I'm going to clamp to the countertop, and it's going to be 5.5 inches back from the line that I want to cut, because the distance from the edge of my plate here, I forget what it's called, the plate on my table saw to the edge of the blade is 5.5 inches. And so once I have it clamped, I can run a nice straight line right up to this point, and then finish that off with a hand saw to make a nice clean cut. One of the things that's also important that whoever whoever installed this back when it was built, I don't know if you can see this, but first of all, it's not even close to being straight, and second of all, it's got kind of an undercut angle to it, and the way I'm going to prevent that from happening, something you should always do, is make sure that your table on your saw is flat, so it's 90 degrees in conjunction to your saw blade. And so I have not plugged in my saw just so there's no chance of that thing turning on while I've got it upside down and the blade exposed. But I'm just going to take my square and check to make sure that that it is going to make a good square cut, and there's an adjustment on, I think, probably every saw that allows you to adjust that angle. So now that that's set, I'm going to go ahead and clamp my fence down and give her a go. So I've got my marks all made, my straight edges clamped and set at the right distance. Now I can take my saw, still not plugged in. I've got the blade pulled up so that I can slide it right along that straight edge to make sure that it's going to cut the line that I want, and I'll stop right at that mark that I made so it goes around the tile. The other part of this, if you see the thickness of the edges on this counter, we need to make sure that our blade goes deep enough to just cut through there. I'll tighten that back up, and we are ready to go. So let me get this plugged in. Okay, so there we have a nice straight line. I'm going to finish cutting that with a handsaw. One thing that I didn't do, because I've got a good sharp, good blade on this, a lot of times if your blade's not really sharp, it will chip the laminate. And what will help prevent that is if you put a piece of masking tape over that line where you're going to cut. That can help that. The other thing that I was reminded of when during the cut is I had a little piece, a little chip of something come up and kind of hit me in the face. And so I thought I would also just make sure that you see, these aren't actually safety glasses. I have reading glasses so I can focus, but it's very important that you keep your eyes protected with something to keep flying debris from harming your eyes. Okay, I've got the notches all taken care of, and the other thing I want to do while I'm out here, you can see how I've got a nice thick wood edge, and it only reveals just a tiny bit. I'm just not really fond of the 45-degree chamfer, I guess is what you call it. So I'm going to take I think it's a 5/16 round over bit that I'm going to round this and also cut it deep into the laminate so it'll still reveal the edge of the laminate, give it just a little bit more detail. I don't think I have enough room to do an OG or anything like that that's going to cut deeper, because I've got a nail right there, and that's really what I don't want to hit a nail with, is a router, because there's such a high speed bit going around there, and you hit a nail and that's not a good situation. So I've got my router all set up. I'm going to run that down there and we'll see how it looks. Okay, so you can see how the round over bit worked. I actually cut it just a little bit deeper than I wanted to. I just wanted to reveal the edge of the laminate and not cut into the wood anymore, but that's all right. That's not a big deal. Missed all the nails, so that's that's a very good thing. I've also been sanding. It's very important to get all of the old finish off, because when we go to stain, if there's still some finish on there, it won't soak into the wood and it won't take. So I'm hoping I got everything off, because sanding ranks right up there with one of the least favorite things that I get to do. So we'll apply some stain and wipe it off and see how it turns out. I learned something on the internet the other night. I was looking up some stuff. I couldn't quite remember what they're called, but I knew they had a name for these pieces of wood. The horizontal pieces are the rails. The vertical pieces are the stiles. Kind of thought that's what it was, but again, this is not my profession. I'm just a do-it-yourselfer, and anyway. So since I last videotaped, I went ahead and I pre-stained and I pre-finished the pieces that you see here, and I'm using a brushing lacquer. This is the lacquer that I'm using. It's called a Deft brushing lacquer. It's a satin finish, which I kind of like. I don't like as much gloss. It's still kind of glossy, but it's not really shiny. I actually had a can of this, which helps with the budget. I didn't realize I had a can, so I bought a new one and ended up taking it back because I found this one. Part of the length of this project is running back and forth out to the garage, looking for tools, looking for stuff that I thought that I had. You know how that works. And the stain that I'm using is called Gelled Stain by Woodcoat. Not sure if they make it anymore or not. I've had this for quite a while. I've always liked the consistency and the way it makes it look. I just hope I have enough, because I've got some, the larger pieces. I still have all the drawer fronts and that kind of stuff to do, and it's kind of getting down there. So we will see. So I understand that there are several different styles and I guess designs of, you know, cabinetry and the way that they're put together. I just decided to run the full length with the rails across the top and the bottom. You can see I even put the drawers back in without the drawer fronts. So you can see how those are gonna, you know, the drawer fronts will go in there and they will pretty much sit flush against the front of the frame. So I've installed the bottom rail, the top rail, and then the side stiles. I thought that I was going to glue them in and then use some brad nails from the back side to hold them in place. Turned out I didn't have long enough brad nails, so I just used screws. I pre-drilled and screwed through the bottom existing frame to hold it all in place. And then these, the middle stiles, they're just actually sitting in there, and I'll adjust them as I put my drawer fronts in place so that I get the reveal that I want. I initially thought that I was going to have an additional some little small rails separating the drawers. I think I might be leaving those off now. What I did is I went ahead and cut the board that basically will be the piece that will make up these 3 drawer fronts, and I think I'm just going to have no rail in between them and just have a reveal line separating them is all. So you can see how I can kind of move this back and forth so I can get my gap the way that I want it, and I can still adjust this style on this side. And one of the biggest things as far as importance in doing a flush front drawer front like this is it's got to be square. This cabinet was not square, so when I installed the top and bottom rails, I started on the wall end, and I was able to adjust that the style on that side and get it nice and square, and I got this one square as well. And you can see it's going to have a nice square line. If it's not square, it's not going to come out right. That's just what it comes down to. Here's a look. The other idea that I'm toying with is I'm kind of wondering if I actually want the drawers totally flush with the outer frame. I'm thinking about digging out my old surface planer and planing down the back side of the drawer fronts so that they're actually recessed just a little bit, maybe 1/8 of an inch or something like that, inside the frame. So I might take it and cut a piece and try it out and see what it looks like. So it's kind of a work in progress, but that's what I'm toying with. Another thing that I am still undecided on, I'm just doing a one-piece drawer front. If you look at most cabinets, they have a frame and panel design, frame around the outside with a filler panel on the inside. I really don't want to go to all that work, and so I'm just going to do a one-piece design. However, with my router, I'm considering possibly putting in a reveal line to make it look kind of like it's a frame and panel design. I might do up one of those just to see what it looks like compared to just a solid look front also, and then decide.